County Board of County Commissioners is now out of recess, and we are back in session for a 5:30 presentation. And we have the Putnam County Solid Waste Advisory Board final report and recommendation that is being presented to us through Chairman Greg Walker. Please come forward, sir. Thank you all for being here. Our morning prayer is carrying us over.
There you go.
Thank you.
It must have been a good one, Chairman
It
Black.
was good.
What I would like to do, y'all have had the report for several days, and what I would like to do is just sort of make some summary comments and then entertain any questions that you may have. Our landfill is currently operating on about 200 tons a day. Our estimation is, with current staffing, the landfill could currently accommodate plus or minus 600 tons a day, with little or no increase in current day-to-day expenses. Thusly, our recommendation is we seek plus or minus 400 tons a day to begin from outside sources for revenue generation. Personal recommendation is we contract with a waste broker, as they would be closely attuned to solid waste market dynamics. We also recommend the commissioner ask that the commissioners consider charging for usage of our convenience centers. We recommend that they are closely monitor its usage and to ensure these centers are utilized as intended by only citizens and businesses of this county. We suspect that we are seeing waste being brought in from across county lines. We would also like you to consider implementing a citizens advisory board. We view the landfill as a potentially valuable resource that may be best utilized with permanent oversight. For long-term perspective, we view the landfill as an economic opportunity for the county. Increasing tonnage would also attract alternative technologies as they become proven. Currently, it takes about 1,000 tons a day for alternatives such as plasma arc gasification to be economically viable. We recommend that our landfill head in that direction. Everything we've recommended has three specific goals. One is to begin to alleviate the burden on our citizens by seeking outside revenue sources and considering all cost-saving options. Two, we maintain control of all aspects of our landfill. And three, we are moving toward the size and scope to attract future alternative technologies. Be glad to entertain any questions that y'all may have.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Walker, for the synopsis of this report. Commissioner Lible?
Mr. Walker, as far as the plasma arc gasification, can you just drill down a little bit on what the board felt the holdup was on that technology?
Well, we, as I mentioned to y'all here, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago during a review, we don't feel that the technology is proven and vetted and ready to go yet. We had, I believe it was Commissioner Harvey had mentioned he had spoken with the professor at the University of Florida, and he echoed those same sentiments. We, however, are excited about that technology 3, 4, 5 years out, you know, whatever that date may be. But currently, we don't think it's viable. It's unproven and it's unvetted.
Okay. And did you look at the model in St. Lucie County and see what possibly, you know, they had a 10-year endeavor only to abandon the technology. Was that in play?
That happened pretty much after we had already decided against recommending that for the county. That sort of just brought home to bear that we've probably made the right decision.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. District 1, anything right now?
I guess I had one question. Let me see. Number 6 in your recommendations. It's on page 164 in our packet.
You're talking about Putnam County should take no action. Yes, ma'am.
Just explain that a little.
Elaborate on that. That is just our way of saying that we want to set ourselves up for those alternative technologies, and that we be open and consider them as they come online and are proven.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. District 4, anything?
Yes, Mr. Walker, since you mentioned me, I did meet with Dr. Townsend, there was no doubt, and he did say that he bought the arc, he showed me the torch, we went into the lab. He did say it would be a few years out, but with some of this proven technology, it's going to take a while to build these plants, and do you feel that we can be up and running at that time?
It's a timing question that I think you're asking, and we think with the first, and again, it's going to take about 1,000 tons a day to attract those technologies, so those technologies can be economically viable. I think we need to head in that direction, and I'm not saying we'd be the first one out of the gate, but I would hope that whatever commissioners are making those decisions at that time feel that it's time for the county to take that step. I would hope we would be right in that 1,000-ton a day range. So it's a bit much to hope for, but I hope the technology and our tonnage arrives at about the same time.
Do you have any heartburn for the fact that, well, let's say that a company comes in, doesn't want our landfill, doesn't want our garbage, but wants to invest in Putnam County, bring millions of dollars worth of technology, jobs, and provide his own gasification?
No, sir. I mean, once it's proven, and that
Well-
they meet the hurdles of can they do what they say they're going to do, and I'm talking about in forms of bonding requirements that would be required for some job of that size and scope.
Well, we wouldn't necessarily ask for a bond if we had no dime into the mix whatsoever. It would be a private venture starting out on its own.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I suppose that would be the case. Yes,
I
sir.
have one more question. Number 2, there's been a lot of misunderstanding about this question, and I confirmed it today. We don't have an ordinance that prevents us from taking out of county garbage currently.
Okay.
And we've made that kind of clear through the process, but we always hear that come up. And I went to Mr. Leary and asked him to make sure, and we don't have that right now.
If that ordinance is not in place, then I would say let's just strike that recommendation.
All right. And I want to say one other thing on number 1, me living in the West Putnam area, and the convenience center has been kind of a situation I've dealt with my whole life. I mean, we've always drove to the dump and did, okay. My concern with Keep Putnam Beautiful that I used to be chairman of was picking up all the garbage that made it out to the woods. I'm really afraid that I don't mind clamping down, but I could see that these trailers won't come home loaded like they went to the convenience center and they didn't want to pay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a concern of mine, and I'd like to stop the out of town, there's no doubt about that, but I do not want it to go out in the woods and us pick it up on a hot July afternoon on a Saturday. I can tell you, I've done that.
Yes, sir. We acknowledge that risk, and I
Right.
believe in the summary report. What we tried to do is craft these recommendations to make the landfill as economically viable and potentially profitable for the county as possible. That was our end goal.
Okay. Mr. Walker, one more question, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman. Number 5, establish a permanent citizens advisory board. I've always had the idea since I left West Palm and looked at their operation, their waste authority basically is their county commissioners down there. But I've always thought the idea of a solid waste authority would be a good fit for Putnam County.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere citizens and everybody involved with the ability to say, let's make money, let's reuse, let's recycle, let's protect our environment. Do you see that Citizens Advisory Board could do something in that nature?
Yes, sir, I think so. What we saw there is we have a 1,600-acre site.
Right.
And it can be an enormous resource for this county, and we think properly managed and with proper oversight, we see that as a big win for the county, and that's what drove those recommendations.
Well, thank you, sir, and I appreciate all your hard work
Sure.
in the committee.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Pelletier.
Just one question so far. On the bottom of page 5, line 3, it says Putnam County should pursue enhanced recycling opportunities as part of a long-term approach to solid waste management. Drill down on that just a little bit, enhanced.
Well, our compliance rate is low. And what our current contract, I understand it's very expensive. What we want to do is to see a higher compliance rate. We want to see it become less expensive to the county. And as I believe I read in the paper the other day, we're putting that out for rebid anyway. So that may address that issue there.
Okay. I'm good at this time. Okay.
Thank you very kindly. Again, I think there may be some committee members here.
Yes, sir.
Just identify those that are.
If y'all would, please stand.
If you will stay close, and just in case we have some additional questions or some deliberations.
Sure, I'll stay
All
right here.
You don't have to stand. You can.
Okay.
Yeah, you can be seated.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so very much. We are extremely grateful for your presentation. Mr. Walker, as chair, we're extremely grateful. We do want the record to reflect that there is correspondence from Mr. Robert Warren, who basically presents what we would call the minority report or minority recommendations there. And with all due respect to the majority, that is the report that was just given. But for the record, there are just a couple of highlights that I will raise from that report before we move forward. The minority report, just in summation from the paragraph that speaks about recapping on page 167, where it talks about a private sale will provide the purchase funds, the return of the $6 million escrow, a revenue stream from the host fees. Private sale will also dramatically reduce or eliminate our operating costs. Both occurrences will provide capital and remove any necessity for more than half of the assessment. The county commissioners wish to further reduce the assessment. The income stream can be used for that purpose. It's virtually the only method that would provide these benefits. And he goes on to say that with change in the treatment of wastewater by the town of Palatka, it may be difficult and expensive for us to dispose of our leachate without the relief of the sale, which is another consideration. And also, in closing, wishing to offer an explanation for the divergence of his position from the remaining board members. He interpreted literally the mandate to lower the assessment, and he has supported his position with facts, and the numbers are persuasive. The other board members, whose opinion is respected, took a more expansive interpretation of that mandate to encompass stewardship of the land. Thus, it is not surprising that our recommendations do not coincide. So we do want to make sure that information is provided. Commissioners, each of you should have that. Also, the District 1 appointee made it clear that the vote in favor was related specifically because of the belief that what is best for the county over the long run. And the statement was added to the recommendation: after a good faith effort, if the recommendation does not work, the county should consider selling a portion of the landfill to a private solid waste company. And that comes from the District 1 appointee, John Newbold. We do have the reports, and the commissioners and audience. This meeting is designed for us to actually accept the report that has been provided to us there as recommendations. It's designed for us to now do our homework and to make sure that we properly consult with who we need to consult with individually, proper notice to each other, obviously, through the meeting process, and to our community, so that they will know that there is no such option as putting this report on the shelf. That option does not exist there. We have a mandate from a lot of different areas. One is we do know that the assessment that was necessitated as a result of all of the factors involved, skyrocketed. All of us are paying, sometimes we're paying more than once because we have residential and, commercial properties in our county. I serve notice that I use the ABC matrix, which means we have alternatives, benefits, and consequences. And I believe that all of us are able to do our due diligence and make doubly sure that through the research, opinions are many, facts are few. We need to deal with the facts. We need to deal with the facts. We need to stick with it and make right choices. Everyone is not going to agree with the final decisions there, but this 5-member elected board has to step up to the plate. We cannot get on first base, second base, or third base. We've got to hit a home run for our community. It's got to happen. Mr. Gass, do you have any closing remarks?
No, sir, that pretty much covered everything in the report.
Okay. Mr. Administrator?
I'd just like to note, Mr. Chairman, if I may, that the final report from the Solid Waste Advisory Board acknowledges some appreciation to certain individuals. And I'd like to note that Mr. Brian Teeple from the Northeast Florida Regional Council served as a moderator and facilitator, and he was not compensated in any way whatsoever for his assistance. I just wanted to clarify that. He did that as part of his responsibilities as the executive director of that council.
Okay. Certainly do appreciate you making that acknowledgement because, again, the rumor mill can say a whole lot of things about who was paid to do what and who's being paid off stage and things of that nature. I want to appreciate the commissioners for empowering this very, very capable and diverse panel who has spent countless hours, not just in the meeting setting, but doing their homework and listening and learning and following the processes and procedures there. All of them volunteered their services. And our solid waste director, we can't say enough about his expertise in this area, and we're looking forward to that. And Ms. Tony Weaver for, again, above and beyond and doing what she does so efficiently. So thank you so much. Council, do you have anything to add?
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion from the commission?
Good.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you all for coming. What's that, Doc?